All right.
Hello and welcome to episode 337 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Chasen.
Bill, and it was probably the most interesting weekend, let's just say weekend, sports weekend that I've seen.
And yet,
And
what
I
are the
get,
headlines this morning?
ah, I think I want to start with Notre Dame, Ohio State,
You want? Are
because
we?
the coach kind of threw me when I knew there was 10 on the field for the last play. I didn't know there were 10 on the field for the last two plays.
Yeah.
And when he knew there was 10 on the field for the next to last play, you know, why not run some? You don't have any timeouts. Run somebody on, and if they're late, you take a half the distance, half the penalty to half the distance to the goal penalty.
Which isn't a big a deal in that situation.
But not when you're down on the one.
Yeah.
And that way you just start. You have 11, because if you look at the diagram, that's right where they ran the play.
Oh yeah.
There was nobody there.
No, and that would have been the biggest win in Notre Dame like the last 15, 20 years probably.
Because it was probably the most deflating loss I think I've ever seen. I mean, that was the proverbial snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was it. And I mean, they played well. The crowd was great. It was a well-fought game on both sides. Both defenses played really, really well. The offenses tried. I mean, it was a great game,
Yeah.
but tough way to lose, though, with a coach's mistake.
Very tough.
And I just don't think you can say, I decided to go with 10. That's
insane.
Not a good explanation to me.
No, I mean,
And probably the zillion people that bet on the game. It's not a good explanation to them either.
no, it makes zero sense, and it's just. I don't. I mean, I don't know what the right response is, but it's not. I decided to go with 10.
No, it's not.
That would never be the correct answer.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I mean, Paul Feinbaum was all over it because he hates Notre Dame, for one thing. And he said, Notre Dame's so arrogant about not being a conference, they don't have a conference championship game to play. And I agree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
but it was just the way he said it. And, they're at a disadvantage because they're not in a conference. But then they have certain advantages because they're not in the conference either. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, nothing financially makes sense for Notre Dame to go to a conference as of yet.
No.
And even when that deal expires, it's hard to imagine they still wouldn't be the belle of the ball for the SEC or the big whoever.
Hey, they were the belle of the ball for Under Armour. And did you like the uniforms?
I did.
I did too. That was a lot of green, but I was okay with it.
Yeah, it looks good. Because sometimes the uniforms, even if I wouldn't wear it in real life, I mean, regardless, because I'm an older man now and I'm not in high school, but it still looks good on TV.
Well, let's move on to the Colorado-Oregon game.
Yeah.
Now, even if Hunter plays, they're still going to lose by 30.
Yeah.
I mean, they got beat on the line, and they couldn't stop anybody. I mean, so where they got beat, they would have gotten beat no matter who they had.
It's true.
So, was I surprised? I was probably surprised they didn't. I was probably surprised it wasn't like 55-20 or something.
Yeah.
21.
Well, Hunter could
That
have been.
surprised me. But other than that,
Yeah.
I wasn't that surprised.
If Hunter's at wide receiver, maybe they score, 2 touchdowns as opposed to just one late one, right?
Yeah.
Because he changes the way you have to guard them on defense. So.
But, I like Deion's press, like we were talking offline, I like Deion's press conference. I like the fact he said, if you're going to get me now, because I'm down now. But next year, this is as bad as we're going to be this year.
Yeah.
So, be ready. And, I put out on Twitter, I think he'll have a top 5 recruiting class, if not higher.
Yeah.
And I was reading today in something, I think it was the New York Times, that Colorado is the school that Black America is following.
Yeah.
And if Black America is following that school, they're going to get some fantastic recruits.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you figure that was some of the reason he probably didn't get some of the other jobs that he went up for, is because, some schools, that's just not what they want, even in 2023, as sad as that is.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like we said, when we were talking about this last year, like, if it's Deion Sanders versus random old white coach, he's going to get your son every single time. It just he's going to make that school cool. And technically, Colorado was already doubled their win total from the previous season.
True. And I think they'll win at least 6 games.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I think that we were kind of unrealistic. Everybody got caught up in the hype. And, they had 2 really big games coming up.
Yeah, it's a shame they're so early in the season.
Southern Cal's going to play them at Colorado, though. So that should be something. They had to play it at Oregon, and that was a double dose.
It was. But it was nice to see, I don't know, I'm rooting for them. I like them. And again,
for sure.
It'll be interesting to see, what it does college football-wise as far as, the people that jumped on the Colorado bandwagon for a couple of weeks. Will those casual viewers stay, or are they out till Dion gets good again?
Oh, I think they're on.
Okay.
Because it's a show.
Yeah.
And I think, there's people, it's almost like he's the Raiders, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Steelers, because there's people that will watch him because they love him, and there's people that will watch him because they hate him.
Which is what every TV network would want.
And exactly. And so they're going to have a big audience ad infinitum, as far as I can see.
Yeah. Agreed.
What other colleges there? Alabama, Mississippi was not as good. It was good for half, and that was about it. How about Jimbo Fisher being on the field during an interception return?
Yeah, it wasn't.
I think that you got to stop that stuff, man.
Without a doubt.
There should have been a penalty on that, despite the fact that the play was over. You can't have a guy hanging on the field like that.
No, we learned firsthand with Mike Tomlin and his tripping penalty a couple years ago. You just can't be on the field.
No,
and
that's
stupid.
stupid.
And it shouldn't even have to be brought up, right? Because
right,
it seems pretty obvious.
But I see everybody, see basketball coaches doing it. We've kind of gotten away from it, and the referees aren't calling it. You start calling it, they'll stop doing it.
Yeah, easily. Should we move to the Professional Football League?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's any. I think that was the big games. Colorado, Southern Cal next week is a big game. Penn State, Ohio State looks like it could be a big game.
Yeah, see if it's.
Ohio State doesn't look that dominant, putting up 30, 40 points like they were doing before. So we'll see how that one goes. That should be interesting. Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State should both be interesting. If Michigan even plays Penn State, I know that Michigan doesn't have much of a schedule this year.
They got a pretty sweet deal, but we'll see how it goes.
All right, let's go pro.
What do you think? Where do you want to start with the 70 points the Dolphins hung on the Broncos?
Yeah, let's talk about that, because that showed me how good the Dolphins could be and how bad the Broncos really are.
Yeah. That team put up 10 touchdowns. You had 2 running backs that scored 4 touchdowns each. And it was like watching somebody play Madden on easy.
I haven't seen a team be embarrassed like that in a long, long, long time.
There are times
they were angry. They were, it was bad.
You can watch Alabama play one of the cupcakes at the beginning of the year during their heyday, and it's tough to put up 70 points. And they could have put up another field goal and broke the NFL record at the end if they wanted to, and they chose not to. That was insane. They're so fast. And
yeah.
Devontae A-Chain in his first real action as a rookie, 4 touchdowns, 200 yards.
I know.
It's just... It's crazy. I don't even have words.
He's available in my fantasy league, but I just don't think he's going to get that many carries.
No, because I think Jeff Wilson's coming back too, and I don't think you get to play the Broncos every week. Who I don't think anybody realized just how bad the Broncos were.
No, that was a whooping. That was a real whooping, and the coach did not handle the press conference well at all either.
No, he did not. When you watch that team, do you think Russ is that bad?
I don't think he's good. I think his better days are past.
His better days are certainly past him.
In the Seattle system.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's the guy.
But they owe him a lot of money.
Let's just transition from that and say, who's worse, Zach Wilson or Josh Fields?
What's crazy is they're both top 5 picks of the last 5 years.
Yes.
you would think, and these are guys that, went ahead of Mahomes and some other people, which I know is just, it's a bad equivalency, but it is worth noting. But I think Zach Wilson is worse because at least Justin Fields is a good runner, I guess. I don't. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want either of them.
I mean, when the Bears pick you as the quarterback, is that the kiss of death?
It's seeming like it at this point. Now,
I
did
mean,
you hear his comments?
he looks terrible.
Yeah. Would you read the long form of his interview?
No.
He basically said that the OC is sort of in his head the entire time, like literally, obviously with the green dot, and that it's not allowing him to just sort of free play. It's too much micromanagement. But I don't know if that's really, I'm sure if you're Justin Fields, you're just clinging for something that's going to be like, well, this is why it's happening. It's not, it's not X, it's not Y. Like, there's got to be something to help me. But yeah, I mean, if you're the Bears, if you're the Jets, if you're anybody else, like you're looking Caleb Williams, Shredder Saunders, Drake May, Phoenix, you go down the list of maybe Bo Nix. I don't know.
Yeah, Bo Nix looked great.
Bo Nix looked good. I mean, you just want somebody competent in there because I mean, they're both going into year 4, I think, right? This is year 4 for both of them, or 3 for one, 4 for another.
At least year 3.
Yeah. Either way, they both. I mean, Zach Wilson just looks, and the problem I think is, I mean, I think even worse if you're a Bears fan because Justin Fields was supposed to be the 1A of the Trevor Lawrence. It was like 1A, 1B, and they were both from big schools. They both performed well in college over the years. Where Zach Wilson was BYU and was really like a 1-year wonder who was based more on a couple of highlight plays and a cannon for an arm as opposed to this guy can be the man. Whereas like Justin Fields was turning heads at Peyton Manning's camp and doing all that kind of stuff, but he just I don't know. I mean, they've got him receivers. It just in a game where you got beat by almost 40 points, he threw for 95 yards. Like, what else do you say?
Yeah, there's nothing else to say.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both very inept, and they're going to be battling for the much ballyhooed Jets defense. I mean, it played well yesterday, only giving up 15 points, but it's still. I mean, you got to score 16, and I don't see that team scoring 16.
No. And I know this. Apparently, Joe Flacco, Carson Wentz, and others have contacted the Jets. The Jets have not contacted them, but they reached out to the Jets. But I don't know if any of those are better options, really.
Well, now that the Vikings are 0-3, and Kirk Cousins will be a free agent next year, and we talked about this a little bit last week.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more realistic now.
And the kind of mistakes Kirk Cousins makes, like in that, I mean, if you didn't watch the game, Chargers were up by 4. Vikings are driving with under 2 minutes to play. They get the ball down to like the 8-yard line with 30 seconds left. And Kirk Cousins was running around, putting his head over his ears, trying to hear the play from the sideline instead of just running up and spiking the ball and getting a few shots in the end zone. He threw a pick after wasting 20 seconds trying to hear a play. And with the Jets, that probably won't be the issue, right?
No.
And if you're the Vikings, I think, you've got Jefferson, you've got Addison, you've got a nice young nucleus. You're probably ready to move on from whatever Kirk Cousins is.
Yeah, because you're going to move on next year. You're not going to pay him that ridiculous amount of money next year.
No. And then I guess, everybody's favorite Kirk Cousins comparison, Super Bowl winning quarterback Dak Prescott did not look good.
No. In fact, the whole team didn't look good. They looked like they weren't playing at all.
Yeah, that was the biggest shocker of the day, is that the Cardinals whooped up on the Cowboys. And they
Is it really, though? Because the Cowboys are 1-7 in their last 8 games in Phoenix.
Yeah, but you'd expect that defense, even though they lost Diggs in practice this week, which is terrible. That guy had 18 interceptions over his first 3 years. He's developing a really good corner. But it's hard to imagine the Cardinals moving the ball up and down the field whenever they needed to on supposedly the best defense in football.
I think the Cowboys watched too much Get Up last week when they were anointing them the champions.
Very popular, or positive, or probable.
Because they just looked terrible. Although Pollard looked good when he was running the ball.
Yeah.
They could not get the ball to CeeDee Lamb.
No. But special shout out to 2 former Steelers, and James Conner and Josh Dobbs, who pretty good. That's all
Yeah,
we're
I
gonna say
agree.
about that.
And like you said offline, it's hard to say that James Connors doesn't look better than Najee.
Yeah, and he
And
was
you let
already
it
on.
go because you were drafting Najee, and I haven't seen it.
No, and he didn't sign for big money, and he's had multiple 1,000-yard seasons and 20 touchdown seasons, and you know, I don't know.
No, that one was a shocker.
I think Indianapolis.
Jacksonville, Houston was a shocker.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud looks really good. I watched that whole game. Um, he looks calm. He looks poised. He puts the ball in the right places. He might be breaking the Ohio State quarterback. Unlike Justin Fields, he might break the curse, right?
He could. Jordan Love brought his team back from 17 down to win 18-17.
It did help that poor David Carr, or Derek Carr. Derek Carr?
Derek Carr got hurt, yeah.
Derek Carr got hurt, and they didn't move the ball after that. I think the other big shocker was Indianapolis beat Baltimore with Garner Minshew at quarterback.
And 5 50-yard plus field goals,
Yeah.
which means they weren't really moving the ball that much, but they have a great kicker.
No, and I like Lamar Jackson. There are times where some of the criticism you hear that gets, pushed aside as being whatever, it seems like it's real. Like
I've never been sold on Lamar.
he
I
misses
think he's a great running quarterback. I just don't think he's a great quarterback.
I watched, and he missed like a number of like key throws. 3rd and 6, and he's throwing behind the guy. And again, not that obviously quarterback. I think the more we look at it, the more we talk about it, probably is the most difficult position in all of professional sports. But he's a former unanimous league MVP, and like he just continually doesn't make the throws. And he's got guys that can catch now, so I don't really know what you call it.
Well, it's going to be interesting because they play the Browns next week. That's going to be a very, very interesting game.
The Browns, who would be 3-0, except for T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith in the Steeler game, they whooped up on Tennessee 27-3, and their defense is whatever
they dominated that game.
Yeah, whatever the Cowboys' defense claims to be, the Browns might be that defense.
Yeah, they look really good.
And it looked like their offense showed a few signs of life, especially in the wake of Kareem Hunt's not on board fully yet, and Nick Chubb gone, but they've got pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And, they need the guy that we don't like talking about to play well. And maybe he will, maybe he won't. But they're a team, without a doubt. The Bills looked really good. Detroit looked good. I don't know.
It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to watching the Bengals tonight.
To see what,
I want to see if they're able to bounce back.
They're 0-, they starting out 0-3 is a big deal.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the Chiefs game?
You mean the Taylor Swift game?
The Taylor Swift game.
I don't think I've ever seen a game covered like that, where there were so many shots of Taylor Swift.
Yeah, and she was aware she was on film, and she was reacting perfectly.
Yeah.
For as bad as she is in the few times I've seen her as an actress, she's phenomenal at, award shows and, as a Travis Kelce fan, jumping up and down, eating chicken fingers. There's shots of her cleaning up the luxury box at the end. I mean, she knows how to sell a market, right?
There's no question.
And I heard something interesting is that, she obviously had young girls and older women. Like, those were her audience from day one, right?
Swifties, yep.
Then she was slowly getting the dads that were going to the concerts. But the demographic she was missing was the 18 to 40, whatever male demographic that watches football. But now she has Aaron Rodgers and J.J. Watt and John Cena tweeting out at her games. She's now dating Travis Kelce, potentially. She's going for total world domination, getting everybody.
Yeah, she kind of is.
I mean, she's got the new movie coming out. Like,
Yeah, you're going to be able to go watch her in concert and movie theaters, too.
Just like Mike Beck and Bill Veck, maybe Taylor Swift is going to get a marketing documentary in 10, 20 years.
I guess. Well, speaking of the Chiefs, though, that was a fairly dominant performance again.
It was. And it looks like between Sky Moore, Rashid Rice, like something, they're going to figure out the wide receiver situation, and you know, and then they're the Chiefs. Their defense
And
looks
then the
good.
Chiefs, yeah,
Yeah.
they play well.
And then I guess we can talk about our favorite game of the week.
We can go ahead.
So the Steelers won 23-18 in Vegas, which is that's the biggest stadium in football, right?
I don't know if it's bigger than SoFi, but it's
Okay.
one of those two.
It looked enormous on screen. The Steelers were showing out. It sounded like a home game when you listened to it. And in unsurprising news, the Steelers, rather than get rid of Matt Canada, slightly gave him a promotion, and the offense did finally show some signs of life. Granted, they were playing the Raiders and not the Browns or the 49ers, so that probably had something to do with it. But Kenny Pickett, for the first time in his career, threw for multiple touchdowns in a game. And
Multiple being two,
yeah.
not like 3 or 4.
No, it's 2. Yeah, it's his first time throwing for 2 touchdowns, which is a little crazy, but, whatever.
Yeah.
But some of the same things persisted. They spent a first-round pick on Broderick Jones. He still doesn't see the field, even though both their tackles are just getting dominated. Max Crosby is a beast.
A total beast.
Like, he was in every single play. Najee Harris is still getting a lot of carries, even though he looks slow.
He looked better last night. He actually ran hard.
He did run hard, but, he doesn't have that burst, which technically he didn't have at Alabama either, so I guess you can't really say a lot above it, but he was running hard, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
They got Freiermuth involved a little bit more, which was nice. They moved the pocket a little bit. I did notice, there's been people talking, the analytics community says that, when the Steelers are in this formation, they run 85% of the time. When in this formation, they run 91% of the time. And it did seem like there were times where the Raiders knew exactly what they were going to do, just based on the way they lined up. Which, I don't know if Kenny Pickett is supposed to be audibling out of that, or Matt Canada is supposed to be calling better plays. Either way, you'd like to see a little better. But T.J. Watt was T.J. Watt. As his brother said, the best defensive player of football. We don't even need to hear about it, right?
It was a nice moment at the end of the game where T.J. Watt was embracing Max Crosby.
Yeah.
And Cam Hayward was there with him, too.
Yeah, it was nice to see. I don't know.
Yeah. It was fun. It was really fun to watch, though.
It was. And then, like you said, tonight we've got a couple of semi-interesting games. The Rams at Cincinnati. The Rams have looked a little frisky.
Yeah.
And then Philly.
And the Bucks and the Eagles. I have to be honest, I'm not expecting much, but, I could be surprised.
We're talking about 2 undefeated teams. So.
Yeah, I know.
And the Bucks seem like they've got something figured out, right?
It's still Baker.
It's still Baker.
I'm still leery, but I hope he has a good game. I hope he plays well because he deserves it. He's been through a lot.
Yeah. So it was a great week of football. I don't really have any other sports. I don't really want to,
No, the Liberty got upset last night by the Connecticut Sun in the WNBA playoffs.
Okay.
And the Aces won their game, so the Liberty play again tonight, down 1-0. And it was they got beat by 15. It's not that they lost a close game; they got beat by 15. And then next week we have the Ryder Cup being played in Rome.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to tune into that to see what a golf course in Italy looks like.
I assume it's going to look pretty gorgeous.
I saw a picture on TV, and I'll tell you one thing: it didn't look hard.
Oh. People like that though. They like the easy course with the ridiculous course.
Yeah, it's part of that. That's true. I got to give a shout out to one of my entertainment things I saw this week, and I watched The Saint of Lost Causes, the Mike Beck biography on Netflix. It was absolutely outstanding. It was really good. They showed some Bill Beck things. They showed Disco Demolition Night. and they showed how Mike had evolved through all this time. It was very, very good. And he had given, he had a blind play-by-play guy. He had a guy he put in a game had no legs and gave him a chance to play baseball, which had always been his dream. He's done some really amazing things. He's a humanitarian.
True.
And I said it wasn't just a story about baseball. It was a story about a guy that loved baseball and loved people and loved life. So it's really good. So I would recommend that to anybody. It was just simply phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's about an hour and a half on Netflix.
Yeah, we watched the second season of the murder documentary series, which is also like an hour and a half on Netflix.
Okay.
It was interesting because they actually show the crime scene, like the cam footage from the cops, and you're hearing the cops talk on when they're actually at the scene.
Mm-hmm.
But it was cool because they showed the time in the courtroom where he had basically said he was not there the entire time.
Uh-huh.
But he wasn't. I guess he didn't realize that his son had been filming for his friend in the dog kennels. And 2 minutes before the murder supposedly took place, you can hear his voice on his son's cell phone video.
Oh.
And it was just watching his face was pretty awesome because his lie was that he wasn't there and he had is at his mother's house and all this sort of stuff. So watching hearing his voice and everybody was just like, ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously tragic and terrible, but it's worth a watch. It goes pretty quick.
Okay. Let's see. I read Stephen King's new book, Holly, his Holly character,
and
I thought it was a good book. I didn't think it was a great book.
Okay.
It was good. I mean, if you like the Holly character, it's a good book. And he obviously really cares about that character and has really done a good job developing that.
I have more. I mean, I'm excited. Have you seen the trailer for The Exorcist Believer?
Yes, I have.
I think that looks really good.
I'll tell you what, the makeup looks almost like identical to the original movie.
It does. Yeah, it looks like they're going all out. It's getting near scary movie season, so
One of your favorite times of the year.
It is. And, in most parts of the country, it's cooling off a little bit too, which is also part of my favorite time of the year. But we haven't quite reached that in New Orleans yet.
Yeah.
And then I may have food moments next week because we might go to Fried Chicken Fest. So.
Well, I do have a food moment.
Okay.
And I would say it was my second best meal of the year.
Ooh.
So I went to a place called, I think I sent you the pictures, didn't I?
You did.
The Quality Foods Market, which it's a market and a restaurant. Okay? And it's got an amazing wine and beer selection. It's primarily what it is. It has 3 tables inside, a bar that seats 2 people, and then about 6 or 7 tables outside. That when the weather gets good, maybe that'll be it. But every show was outstanding. Every course, the chef would come and explain to us what he was going to do. It was really, really good.
Okay. Yeah, the pictures look fantastic.
We had bronzino, we had pasta, we had the bowl of sauce with ricotta cheese in it and bread for dipping. Mm-hmm. Everything was great. I mean, it was phenomenal. And, there's a picture. If you follow me on Twitter, you follow me on Facebook, I posted the chef bringing the fish out. And the fish was from Italy. He got it on Wednesday. We were there on Friday night. So he brought fish out, told us how he was going to cook the fish. And it was just a phenomenal experience.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
Okay. Well, I think next week we'll talk, hopefully, a better showing from Colorado and Deion Sanders, as we are rooting for them on our podcast.
Yeah, I don't, what to see. I mean, it's Southern Cal coming into Colorado, so that will be one thing.
Yeah.
So it'll be a home game. So let's see how that plays out.
And obviously, lots more NFL.
Lots more NFL. Any particular NFL games you're looking forward to next week?
I mean, besides the obviously Steeler game, I don't know if there's anything. I mean, I'm just looking I feel like we're finally starting to get an idea of where teens are, if you will.
Hmm.
So from that standpoint, I am looking forward to, just seeing.
Like I said, I'm looking forward to the Browns and Ravens. I want to see which one is the more legit team.
Yeah. I mean, I want to see if Jacksonville bounces back, if they're anything.
Yeah.
Maybe in the worst game of the year, potentially, Denver at Chicago.
Yeah, somebody's got to win though.
Yeah, and does either team want to win? Depending on how well Kelly Williams shows out on.
Yeah.
But I mean, we got a couple in there. They look pretty good.
Hey, if I'm Minnesota and I get a chance to dump Kirk Cousins in tank, and I've got two great receivers, Caleb Williams looked really good on that team.
Yeah, he looked great.
He looked great on that team.
So that's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Keep that story in mind.
And again, there's some other quarterbacks this year that look pretty nice too. So
Yeah.
and it looks like we need we thought we had all these young quarterbacks, but it looks like a lot of them are not going to pan out. So we could use a new influx, new guys out there. Yeah.
Well, I want to give another shout out to my Quality Foods Market in Lutz on Florida Avenue.
Okay.
So if you're in the Tampa area, if you live here, you need a reservation to get in, but you got to go to this place. It's really good.
All right.
Oh, and I'm looking forward to seeing Killers of the Osage Moon.
And that's in theaters, right? That's not just on Apple?
It's been in theaters, but it's still like 3 weeks away.
Oh, okay.
But they're starting to really pump up the trailer with De Niro and DiCaprio.
Yeah.
I think that'll be a really, really good movie.
All right. So I guess that's it till next week.
All right. Peace out, everybody.